Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. I'm not sure if you can hear us, probably sound a little nasally right now. I've been congested most of the week and haven't really felt all that great, but I wanted to try to power through because admittedly I have a selfish reason for this, not just to make a video, but I want to make some good food out of it. And when we're not feeling well, what's something that really is kind of the go-to? Chicken soup is really it for me. I live in South Texas. I could just so easily go grab some caldo de pollo from one of the many local great Mexican restaurants, and that's still not out of the question. But I can make chicken soup at home rather easily as well. So that's what we're going to be focusing on tonight. So chicken, it might not be beef, but it's going to be what's for dinner later tonight. And we've talked an awful lot about chicken. Chicken is really kind of versatile. It's going to take on a lot of the flavors, of things that you put with it. So if you saw from the opening credits, I have a whole chicken here. We're at about 6.3 pounds, and today we're going to be grilling this whole chicken. Could I set my oven to 350 and easily do it with in the oven roasted with some roasted vegetables? You know what, I absolutely could, and that would probably be a little bit easier. But the other selfish reason is I haven't really been outside all of this week, and just to take the dog out, and every day, several times a day. I did manage to get her a quick walk last night when I wasn't feeling so hot either, but selfishly I just need to sit outside for a little bit and try to get some vitamin D and just not be cooped up in the house like I've been all week. I took the COVID test. I took a couple of them this week just to actually be sure, but not COVID, just some sinuses and some head cold stuff. But with all that in mind, yeah, it'd be easier to put it to put it in the oven and roast away. But I really like grilled whole chicken. And you know what? Let's not let the whole bird intimidate us a little bit. We've done some leg quarters in the past. We've done the smoking, but we haven't really done, the whole chicken. Eventually, we'll get to the point where we'll, do the breakdown of the chicken in terms of how we cut it up and serve it if we want to do things that way. The other kind of selfish reason for doing a whole chicken today as opposed to just going and buying a good sized bowl of caldo de pollo, I'm low on stock, so I'm going to be able to use some of the remnants of other bones and pieces that I have, and we'll be able to get that in the stock pan and make some homemade stock. So without further ado, let's get into this. Let's not let the lingering sickness kind of wear us down a little bit. Let's get into this whole chicken here, and so that we can put it on the grill. We'll eat a little bit of it later on today for lunch, but then the rest of the pieces and everything, nothing's gonna go to waste. The rest of the chicken is going to be able to go into some homemade soup a little bit later on in the day. We'll make a separate video for that. But then the rest of the bird, the carcass and everything, is gonna go in with some other scraps. We're gonna be making some homemade stock. So today though, the focus is grilling the whole chicken and not letting the whole bird intimidate us. Thanks for joining, and stick around. All right, I've spared you a little bit of the cleaning. We're gonna be doing a dry brine today for this. So the first step with that is I wanna make sure that I get the bird and in all these little crevices as dry as possible. So I'm gonna work on that, and then I'll bring you back. Okay, we're still working on getting everything dry here. So why are we doing a dry brine? There's a difference between a wet brine and a dry brine, and both can yield really great tasting end product. It's a little earlier in the day, and I have a little bit of time to do this. So with a dry brine, I'm just the simplest way. It involves adding some salt, and then I'm just going to allow the excess moisture within to kind of rise to the top. And use a deeper dish. You'll be surprised how much extra moisture comes out of the bird. But let's not confuse that with thinking that we're going to end up with a dry product at the end. That's not necessarily the case. If you like a little bit of a crispier skin on your whole chicken, which I do, the dry brine is going to help give you a crispier end product on the skin. But it's also that drier skin is going to kind of help then protect the meat inside. So that's just one of the reasons I like doing a dry brine. Now, some people might ask, how much salt? And keep in mind, it's 6 pounds, so it's a dense piece of meat here. You don't want to put on more than maybe what you would put on the table. So something like 1/4 of a teaspoon per pound. And remember, this was 6.3 pounds. So we're gonna keep that in mind as we're adding some salt. Now, I have a couple of hours. I wouldn't recommend doing this for more than 24 hours for anything smaller than a turkey. But for a chicken, 1 to 2 hours in your refrigerator to allow that dry brine to start to work. You can see we're pulling a lot of moisture off already. Just trying to make sure it's extra dry. You know, in terms of I really want to help with that crispy skin. But maybe 1 to 2 hours in your refrigerator, and in that time, as it gets a little closer to time, I can get the coals started, and then I can bring you back. Now, we're not gonna wanna wash the dry brine off, so let's keep that in mind. Okay, so we were able to pull off an awful lot of moisture just by using some paper towels. So now just keep in mind, about 1/4 of a teaspoon per pound. I'm gonna probably go a little bit lighter than that because I am gonna wanna put some additional seasoning on this after the dry brine. We'll do a little bit of unsalted butter, you know, unsalted because I'm doing some salt right now. But I'm just gonna try to work this in. And then we're gonna pop it in the fridge, 1 to 2 hours. Okay, everybody, it's been about a couple of hours. You guys saw me set the timer. It was about 1 hour and 45 minutes. I let it go a little bit longer. I was doing a couple things around the house. Let's get in here and let's take a look. You can start to see some of the discoloring that the salt is pulling out some of that additional moisture from the chicken. All right, another view here. So the next step with this, we're gonna put on some unsalted butter. Unsalted because again, we've put some salt on here and we've started to pull out some of that, you know, excess moisture. So there will be a little bit of salt in some of the herb seasonings that we're gonna use, but we're keeping that in mind again. And technically on a dry brine, you can go up to 1/2 of a teaspoon, and we went about 1/4 of a teaspoon or so per pound. So we definitely kept that in mind, and we scaled back the salt just a little bit so that we could plan to put a few additional herbs on the outside of the skin as well. So stay tuned because that's gonna be next. All right, so next step. Remember we said we're gonna butter the outside of the chicken here. Now, unsalted butter, it's gonna be important because again, we dry brined with a little bit of salt. And I just put some additional herbs in here, a little bit of sage, a little bit of thyme. Again, we didn't quite use as much salt in our brine because we knew we wanted to try to be able to season the exterior here so that we can help get this nice crispy skin. All right, this is a little bit of a dirty job. It's all right. It's gonna get it as nice and coated as we can. And then the neck, I already started the coals. You guys were there for part of that as well. Those coals are about ready. Make sure that we do both sides. Again, dirty job, but you know, flavor is important, so it's a dirty job. Somebody's got to do it, right? If we haven't already given the reminder, it'll be, or maybe we have, I can't remember. But if we have or we haven't, it's just a good reminder. Every time you're working with chicken, every step of the way, wash your hands. Just because you don't necessarily see people washing their hands and when they're making these types of videos doesn't necessarily mean that they're not doing it. Yes, it's a dirty job. Wash your hands. We don't want to be messing around with salmonella or anything like that. Okay, I'm gonna wash my hands. Here, we're gonna get this turned back around. And then the next step is we're going to then insert some meat thermometers. So let me finish getting this stuff off my hands and then we'll be right back. All right, so with chicken, it can be a little bit tricky sometimes to ensure that the white meat and the dark meat kind of are cooking at the same pace. Not necessarily something we always can expect. So one of the reasons for that is, and with this I like to use multiple thermometers. It's just going to help me try to gauge both, both the white and the darker meat as well, so that we can hopefully get it up to where we need it to go. So 165 to 170 degrees. You're going to want to account for some carryover cooking as well once you remove it from the grill. So keep that in mind. Hey there. One quick note before you guys leave. Thanks for sticking around until the end. We appreciate that. They say that that's really good for the channel. You know what else they say is really good for the channel? But gosh, wait, who's they, by the way? I'm really not sure. But we're going to go with it's been said. Yeah, we're going to go with that. It's been said that hitting that like and subscribe, as well as sticking around to the end, is apparently really good for the channel. Thanks so much for that. And remember, until next time, be sure to live life outside of the work that you do.